part 2. What you guys all been waiting for, part 2 of my March Madness bracket. Of course, before we get into the video, make sure to like and subscribe. All the information is going to be up here. Of course, turn on the notification bell. You guys help me out a little bit. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now, as you may not know, we did this side of the bracket first. Gonzaga and Michigan ended up making it. Now, Baylor versus Hartford. I don't think Baylor really has a chance. I don't think Hartford really has a chance. I don't think Hartford really has a chance of winning this game. Baylor is the #1 seed. They have a very good and solid team. I believe that Baylor gets out of here with a quick, nice, easy W, which it should be, and they punch their way into the round of 32. Now, North Carolina versus Wisconsin. This is going to shock a lot of people, but Wisconsin, in my opinion, has more quality wins. They have a better team. North Carolina's been a fairly on and off team this year. Their best, you can argue that their best competition was a Duke team that, for the short part, was not really good this year. So I'm going to go with Wisconsin for this game. Small surprising upset to start this video. Now, Villanova versus Winthrop. I think that's how you say that name. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but Villanova is going to win this game next. Now, Purdue versus North Texas. North Texas, they have a fairly solid team, but Purdue, you know, they always put a good team together. They always have a solid team that's going to make a nice run at the bracket, at least the round of 32. That's always where they go, and then they end up getting destroyed by some team that they're ranked higher than. But I'm going to take Purdue in this North Texas game. I don't think North Texas has a chance. Now, Utah State versus Texas Tech. It took a lot of looking up, and Texas Tech is a very solid team around the board, but I don't think they are as talented. Utah State has something to fight for. They have a lot of quality wins. I am going to surprisingly take, this is a tough one, because Utah State has a lot of quality wins. However, so does Texas Tech. I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to go, my first reaction, for some reason, is Texas Tech. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech right here. Arkansas versus Colgate. Now, Colgate has a lot of solid wins, but Arkansas is coming from the SEC, which is a very hard basketball conference this year. They have a lot of quality wins across the board. I'm going to say that Arkansas wins this game. Now, Florida versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech puts up a very, very good squad every single season. And I believe that I looked up a little bit of this game. Florida, harder conference, more quality wins. I take Florida. Do I even need to explain this? Ohio State versus Oral Roberts. If Ohio State loses to a team named Oral, I will probably, I will be very surprised, to say the least. Ohio State, round of 32, you go. Illinois versus Drexel. Illinois, great. They have one great player who can score. I forget his name. It's Shinsu, something like that. One great player who can score. Illinois, they're going to be a very solid team. I think that Illinois is going to absolutely destroy these guys. Now, the big game everyone's been waiting for. As you guys may or may not know, I am from Atlanta, so of course I'm rooting for Georgia Tech. Loyola Chicago's best competition was a Drake team who was fighting in a play-in game to even get into the bracket itself. So I'm going to take Georgia Tech. They've been on a hot streak. They have just beaten Florida State for the ACC championship. I think that Georgia Tech is going to win this basketball game. Sort of an upset right here. And then, of course, Tennessee versus Oregon State. Oregon State's a very solid team. However, Tennessee, harder conference, more quality wins. They did get eliminated in like the first or second round of the SEC tournament, which kind of surprised me. But when you see all the talent that is in that tournament, you have to see that Tennessee, they're a great team, but they're just better teams than them. Is Oregon State one of those better teams? Absolutely not. I believe Tennessee will win this game. Now, Oklahoma State versus Liberty. Liberty somehow manages to get into this bracket every single year. I don't know why. But in my opinion, Oklahoma State has probably the best guard in college basketball in Cade Cunningham. I believe Cunningham will have a very good game. It will be enough to launch Oklahoma State into the second round. Now, San Diego State versus Syracuse. San Diego State's a very good team across the board. However, Syracuse, they have a history of winning, history of basketball. Basketball is their culture. It's a bit of a surprise, but I'm going to have Syracuse winning this game. West Virginia versus Morehead State. Now, West Virginia is a very, very solid team. I really love West Virginia as a team. I don't think Morehead State has a single chance of winning this game. West Virginia on to the round of 32. Now, Clemson versus Rutgers. I looked this up. Clemson, they lost very early in the ACC tournament. Rutgers, they're a very solid team. I looked up a lot of things from the Rutgers, and they actually have probably more quality wins than Clemson, depending on how you look at the teams. I'm going to take Rutgers because Clemson, I haven't heard a lot from their team all year. And, of course, they're a very solid team. However, I believe that the Rutgers they're a better bet. I think the Rutgers are going to beat Clemson. Now, we have Houston for the last pick, and they're going to beat Cleveland State. Not much else to say. Now, we scroll back up, and now we are in the round of 32. Baylor versus Wisconsin. Now, while Wisconsin is a solid team, just like I said when I was picking them to win over North Carolina, they don't have the firepower to compete with Baylor, in my opinion, so I'm going to pick Baylor. Villanova versus Purdue. Now, every year, Purdue really disappoints me in the round of 32. My gut is really telling me to go with Villanova. They've always had a very solid team. It's only been a couple of years ago since this team's won the championship, so I'm guessing they have a lot of talent. And, of course, they play in a better tournament. They play in a better tournament. And they play in a better conference, of course. So, of course, Villanova, I'm going to have them winning this game. And what is sort of an upset for some people. Now, Texas Tech versus Arkansas. Now, Texas Tech is a very solid team. But as you can see, I was debating them with Utah State. I was kind of iffy with that. So I'm going to have Arkansas winning this game. I think Arkansas is going to come out and win this game versus Texas Tech. Even though Texas Tech, they have been underdogs. They can't surprise us. However, I believe that Arkansas is definitely going to win this game. Florida versus Ohio State. Florida does not have the firepower to compete with Ohio State. They have a fairly challenging first round. They're going to be coming off of that. I don't think Florida has near the firepower to compete with a team like Ohio State. So I'm going to have Ohio State going against Arkansas in the Sweet 16 and what will be an interesting matchup. Georgia Tech, I'm sorry, but this is where the run ends. Illinois, you guys will be punching your tickets into the Sweet 16. Tennessee versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, best guard in college basketball, in Cade Cunningham. I believe that Oklahoma State, they are going to win this game. Now, Syracuse versus West Virginia is an interesting one. Syracuse has a very, very high-quality program, full of winning, full of success. However, I am surprisingly going to pick West Virginia because I know they're ranked higher, but Syracuse, in my opinion, they have a lot of quality wins. However, West Virginia, they're ranked higher. They're obviously a way more solid team than Syracuse is, so that's who I'm going to pick. Rutgers versus Houston. Rutgers, this is where your road ends. I believe that Houston is going to win this game. Now, of course, we scroll up. Now we're back at Baylor versus Villanova. I don't believe Villanova has the firepower to compete with Baylor. I believe that there is an upset alert right here. I think an upset can possibly happen, but I'm going to go with Baylor. They're my first guess right now, and that's who I'm going to go with. I like Baylor being in the championship. Arkansas versus Ohio State is going to be a very great game. However, surprisingly, I'm going to pick Arkansas. I feel like Arkansas has a lot of quality wins across the board. Depending on who you ask, they probably played in a harder conference. And they've been fairly hot in the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to pick Arkansas to go in and win this game. Now, Illinois versus Oklahoma State. Illinois has one of the best guards to the nation, and they can play a very, very great defense. Illinois, they're ready to party like it's 2005. I'm going to give it to Illinois. Then, of course, West Virginia versus Houston. Solid teams. I have not looked up a lot of stuff on any of these teams. However, Houston, they're ranked higher. They look like a more solid team this year. They have a lot of quality wins. However, surprisingly, I'm going to go with West Virginia. They play in the harder conference. They look like the better team on paper, of course. Houston is a very, very good team, but unfortunately, this is the end of their road. Now, we are now in the final four teams in this side of the bracket. Baylor versus Arkansas. Man, and I don't know why, but I'm feeling an Arkansas upset. Baylor, they're a very great team. However, Arkansas, they've been hot in the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to go with Arkansas for the upset right here. Then I'm going to go Illinois versus West Virginia. Again, Illinois, one of the best guards in college basketball, if not the best guard, depending on who you ask, of course. Also a great defensive team. I believe Illinois is going to win. Now, what you guys have all been waiting for, the final four teams the Final Four. Gonzaga versus Michigan is going to be a huge fight. It's going to be a fight to the end. Michigan is a great team. However, I'm going to go with Gonzaga. I don't think a lot of people can compete with Jalen Suggs and Corey Kisport in the backcourt. Hey, kind of bars there, right? Now, for the Final Four, Arkansas versus Illinois, it's going to be a tough matchup, but I'm going to have Illinois right here. I think they're going to go in, and I think they're going to go in and possibly win. Arkansas, this is the end of your amazing line. Congrats on making it to the Final Four. However, I have Illinois. Man. We are finally here. Illinois, solid team. Gonzaga, great team. With I just want to know, with Jalen Suggs and Corey Kisport, I don't think anybody is stopping that team. So, without further ado, my undefeated champions go to the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Now, this score is going to be a very, 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 very tight game. But I'm going to say it's going to be Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga, I'm going to go with them 76. Gonzaga 76 to, man, how many points is Illinois going to score? They're a more defensive team, but I think Illinois, they're a great team. Man, I'm going to say Illinois is going to score 71. 76 to 71 is my final. That's my final bet right here. So as you guys can see, I'm going to submit my picks. However, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Of course, this was a long video to make, long process. It took me about an hour to make both of the videos, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is going to be in the description. Without further ado, I'm going to end the video. Stay loved. Stay blessed.